adrenal gland, for example, adrenal gland. So there is a regulation for that is feedback regulation mechanism for the release of the adrenal cortical hormones. So the hierarchy starts from the cerebral cortex. From the cerebral cortex, the signals go to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus releases the corticotropin releasing hormone, which acts over the anti-pituitary cells, which release the adrenocorticotropic hormone. Through circulation, this adrenocorticotropic hormone acts over the adrenal cortex, causes the release of the cortisol. You all know that the cortisol is very, very important for the facing your stress. The day-to-day life, we are exposed to the various stresses. Getting up from the bed itself is a stress, and facing the classes and various things in your day-to-day life is a stress. So for that you require the cortisol. And similarly, it is important, there is a cortisol, other name is called the glucocorticoid hormone. So you have the cortisol regulates the glucose homeostasis in your body, which is required for the your functioning of the various organs. Similarly, it is important for the immune system, cortisol, immunity. Similarly, inflammatory, it is an anti-inflammatory. So inflammation, immunity, digestion, various functions are executed. So you have the hypothalamo pituitary adrenal hierarchical axis, which regulates these various systems. Likewise, you have the hypothalamo pituitary gonadotropin releasing hormone, and which controls or regulates your reproductive system. In males it controls the testicles, and females it controls or regulates the ovary, which causes the release of the estrogen progesterone from the woman and testosterone from the man, which executes the various reproductive activities in the male and the female. Similarly, we have the another axis called the hypothalamo pituitary thyroid axis. So the thyroid, which is regulating your metabolism. So your body metabolism is dependent on the thyroid hormone. So like this hypothalamus via these various axes, which I described now, through these various axes, it regulates or controls your throughout your body. So this hypothalamus is a part of a neural structure, nervous system, and it is secreting the endocrine hormones. So it is called as the neuroendocrine secretions. They are called as the neuroendocrine secretions. Like they secrete various catecholamines and oxytocin, and then all this antidiuretic hormone likewise. So these are the various neuroendocrine secretions released from the hypothalamus. What is the significance of this hypothalamus? Clinical significance. So if you see the clinical significance, actually the researchers which delineate the various neuroendocrine hormones, actually they prove that the hypothalamus is the integrating or linking system between the nervous system and endocrine system via pituitary. It is a linking. It is linking the nervous system with the endocrine system via the pituitary. So it is very, very important, the neuroendocrine secretions. So we are various researchers which show the pulsatile release of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, or the circadian rhythm releasing of the corticotropin releasing hormone, which causes the circadian rhythm of the cortisol release, which are very, very important. So you see the importance. Few examples I will tell you. One of the example you can say is they say that the Eskimos, the women Eskimos, they stop ovulating during the winter season. When the spring arises, they start ovulating. So this is connected to the hypothalamus, require day-night cycle, and then through which the light, bright light or dim light, which regulates your release of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which causes the release of the FSH and LH, which causes the ovulation. That is the one example you can say. So further you go to the clinical importance. So various diseases, for us, we are going to become the future doctors. For us, it is very important, the diseases, clinical diseases. For example, if you all know, there are two types of diabetes. One is the diabetes mellitus, another one is called the diabetes insipidus. So diabetes insipidus is due to the deficiency of the production deficiency or decreased activity of the antidiuretic hormone. The other name for the antidiuretic hormone is the vasopressin. The antidiuretic hormone, the site of action is the collecting ductule, the kidney nephron, which causes the absorption, reabsorption of the water. So that's called the anti-diuresis. Diuresis means passage of more urine. It is the anti-diuresis. So the urine loss is prevented. Water is retained into your body, through which your ECF volume is maintained. So in the absence of the antidiuretic hormone, you pass lot of urine, which is the dilute urine, which is called as the diabetes insipidus. So the diabetes insipidus can occur if the receptors are absent in the kidneys or in the nephron or the aquaporins. So this antidiuretic hormone act via the act of aquaporins present in the collecting tubule duct cells. So the absence of the aquaporin also causes the diabetes insipidus. But the ADS secretion inhibition or absence is called as the central diabetes insipidus. That is the one importance, where that is the hypothalamus importance. Second thing importance is, so we whichever disease we discuss, for example, later on we are going to discuss the thyroid hormone, where we are discussing the hypothyroidism. So the hypothyroidism, majority we say that primary hypothyroidism, or which you call it the myxedema, is due to the absence or deficiency of thyroid hormone. We know there is a secondary hypothyroidism where the hypothyroidism is due to the, not due to the absence of thyroid hormone, but it is something related to the absence or decrease of the TSH or the TRH, which is produced from the hypothalamus. They also can cause the deficiency or absence of thyroid hormone, which may produce the myxedema like features, which you call as the secondary hypothyroidism. That is, likewise, whenever we discuss about whether it is the thyroid gland or the adrenal gland, so in the hierarchy downwards, any hormone you take, so we have to think in terms of the secondary causes that is related. For example, you are saying that the cortisol is deficient. Whether it is due to the primary deficiency of the cortisol hormone or the stimulus for the cortisol production is the ACTH. Deficiency of ACTH can produce the disease. Or whether it is related to the hypothalamus, which is producing the corticotropin releasing hormone, absence or decrease in the release of the corticotropin releasing hormone can lead. Or you can have the various diseases which relate to the hyperprolactinemia, which causes the decrease in the libido and infertility in the case of the male. And then we have the various features. That is, if you see the deficiency or disease of the hypothalamus, they will lead not only the neurology, it's a part of a nervous system, not only the neurological deficiency, it will lead to the endocrine disorders also, like the obesity, the sexual infantilism, like you say, because the hypothalamus related to the feeding activity, so it produces the obesity, hypothalamic obesity likewise. So here it can produce the endocrine disorders also. One of the very, very interesting endocrinal disorder, which is a genetic disorder, is the Kallman's syndrome. It is a genetic disorder linked to the X chromosome, majority of cases seen in the case of the male, where you will see hypogonadism. Hypogonadism, in contrary to the other causes of the hypogonadism, here we call it as the hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. So the cause is deficiency or decreased production of the gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. So actually this gonadotropin releasing hormone, these cells which you call the medial preoptic nuclei of the hypothalamus, they migrate from the olfactory mucosa and from the nose. So in the embryological development, the cells of the olfactory mucosa, they through the cribriform plate, they migrate and then they reach the hypothalamus. So the this X chromosome, where there is a mutation, so where this gene which is causing this disease is called as the Kaligy gene. Kaligy gene. So this absence or deficiency prevents the migration of the gonadotropin releasing hormone cells from the olfactory mucosa to the hypothalamus. So they are prevented from migration. So there is absence of the production of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which produces the hypogonadic features in the male and female also. Actually, this gene deficiency causes the absence of adhesion molecules, which in our introductory classes we have discussed various cell adhesion molecules. One of the cell adhesion molecule is absent, so that the migration is prevented, which leads to the hypogonadism. The interesting feature is to this fact is this Kallmann syndrome, they suffer from another feature, clinical feature, that is called as the anosmia, absence of sense of smell. So proving that the cells are migrating from the olfactory mucosa. So this is about the clinical significance. You can elaborate these things. So you read this, and tomorrow class come prepared for the questions from this topic. Thank you.